We're going to continue creating the thumb by rotating the faces that we are extruding out. Change the angle, move it forward a little bit. Oops. And then we'll extrude it again. So we'll pull it out first. Oops. We'll rotate it. And then we'll use the move tool to pull it forward a little bit. Oops. And then we'll scale it down. You can use the center scale. And probably one more will do it. Maybe one more rotation as well. Alright, so one more extrude, so we'll pull it out. So we grow it first, we move it forward, click on the scale tool, the center scale will appear, scale it down, and then finish by clicking on the rotate tool and then rotate it forward. And that will give us a pretty solid looking thumb. Not too shabby. Alright, and this is what it appears as though it looks like over here in the perspective view. Okay, you can obviously pull it forward or adjust those vertices along the way. The next thing we're going to work on then is our neckline. Okay, so we're going to kind of come into this front chest area here and work on the neck and smoothing out of the body actually. So both of these need to be done. So when it comes to smoothing out the body, we're going to go into edge mode, and I'm going to select several of the edges going through this chest cavity area on the outside. Alright, let's see. Okay, so we've got all those selected. And I'm going to tumble around to the back side. If I need to turn off the visibility of those image planes, it kind of gets in the way sometimes. So we're going to select these edges as well. I'm not going to select the ones in the lower region here. So we'll select both of these top ones there. Now all four corners have been selected, which allows us to then use the scale tool. So here's our scale tool. We're going to scale these in a little bit and scale them from the side as well. So both on the X as well as from the Z direction. And you can see how just scaling in those edges simply rounded out the body pretty well without doing a ton more adjustments. The last thing I probably would recommend doing is these front edges that are going through his belly torso area. You could do a slight adjustment on those. You'll see it from the side direction mostly. If I turn the move tool and simply move those back a little bit, you're going to get an indentation in the rib cage area. So you got to be careful you don't go back too much. Going to kind of look down at it this way, make sure we're good. And if you needed to, you could scale them out as well. But having the shaded region appear both on the side as well as the front side, and then from the front orthographic view going down the two front sides, that allows you to see that there really is a rounder oval-like body torso versus a very squared out one, which should be similar to like a Minecraft character or a Lego character. So we want it to be pretty smoothed out. Alright, moving forward, we're going to get into the head area here. So we have all the edges that we possibly need, and so what we're going to do is adjust the vertices so that way we have a rounder neck area. Okay, so we're going to right click and hold and go into vertex mode. And let's see, if we were to grab onto, actually, let's do one more extrude here. So there's four faces at the very top of this character. So these four faces, let me turn back on my image planes. Okay, so these four faces that I've just selected there, if I turn on the move tool, you'll see it'll come up and down. So that's what we're dealing with right here. So I'm going to undo that. I'm actually going to extrude these up a smidge. Okay, so we're going to pull these up a little bit and then scale them in a great deal. Okay, so this is kind of creating the neckline area, and I don't know if you can see this from the, geez, I keep using my wrong keyboard here, sorry. So we're going to scale them in a little bit like this, and so you can kind of see how it's bringing them in together. And then from the top, you can't really see a ton, but I am going to scale them in here as well. And then if I need to adjust to see the size of it, I can adjust the movement pattern of these as I move them backwards. So you can kind of see that's going to be like the beginning of our neck and our collarbone area. Okay, having done that, we're now going to create the head area. So again, these vertices that have been selected for us, or that we're going to select here, we're going to select the 4 inside vertices of this cross. And so you'll see we've got 4 faces there. So we want to select all 4 of the inside vertices. Don't worry about the center one so much. Use your scale tool, and if anything, for these we're going to scale these out a little bit to make them a little bit wider. And use this a little bit wider here. This is going to round out the neck. Not tons on the 4 corners. Even more so though, we're going to select the 4 outside corners to those 4 faces. And these we're actually going to scale in. So we're going to bring them in this way as well as this way. And so you can kind of see we've got a roundish neck going on here. You'll notice that I didn't use the center scale when doing this. Center scale will obviously adjust the placement of the vertices, both the X, Y, and Z axes. And we really wanted these to stay pretty flat. So if you're looking at this from this front angle right here, minus seeing the camera, let's turn off our camera there, you'll see that everything's nice and flat for us at this point. So that's basically what we're going to be working with as we continue on to build out the neck and the face area. So I'm going to right click and go into face mode, select these 4 faces, and it's going to be a bunch of extruding. So we're going to use the extrude tool, and I'm going to pull these up, and you can kind of see where the neck is coming into play. And what you'll see is that the chin is going to be much squarer and wider than what the neck has to offer. But we're going to come back and fix the chin a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to drag these faces in. And so now our neck is nice and round. Move these forward a little bit more. Alright, so there's our neck area right there, and you can kind of see what it looks like from the side view, and it looks pretty good from the side view. For the front it's still a little wide, so I swipe the whole top area to select all of them, and I'm going to drag them in just a smidge. So we're going to scale those inward just a little bit. Alright, and then we'll pull them up just a little bit more. To meet the top of the neckline. Fantastic. So now we're going to go back into face mode. So we'll select all these faces, all 4 of them, and basically we're going to use the extrude tool to continue extruding these upwards. So we'll use the extrude tool, pull it up. We're going to bypass the chin area, quite honestly, utilizing the scale tool that comes with the extrude tool. Seems extreme, but we're going to scale it wide and then move it forward. Scale it wide and move it forward. Too much scaling. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing from the front view. We're going to scale it wide. I don't know what just happened there. I'm going to go nice and wide there. Okay, so you can kind of see what we're trying to create for the face area. Is this plane of sorts, and the idea here is that we're rounding out the face as we're modeling it out. Now all 4 faces are still selected, so once you've shaped it out for the front as well as the side view, use the extrude tool once again. So the next extrude, we're going to move it up just a smidge. We're going to make a few of these different extrusions as we go along. My extrude tool is behaving slightly strange, so pardon that. So we're just going to make it wide, and again, don't worry about the lack of chin right there. This takes us to the base of the mouth. We'll extrude it again and we'll go to the top of the mouth. Go a little wider, adjust it, move it back. Use this tool to make it a little bit wider. And again, I'm watching in the front view even though I'm using the tool in the top view. I'll extrude again. Let's go up to about to the nose area, and we're going to forget about the fact that there's a nose. Don't worry about that. We will come back and adjust the nose placement of it. Check this out from the side, from the front orthographic view. Scale a little wider. Extrude again. This time we're going to go above his nose. We're going to bypass the whole nose area to the base of the eyes. Okay. And so we'll, once again, we're going to watch it from the orthographic front view for the width of his face. Do the same thing for the side. This takes us to the base of the eye there. We're going to do a massive extrude over the eyes so that we've got the cavities that we need for the eyes when we go to use them. Not too much scaling needed to be done there, so I'll probably just do a minimal one from the front view. And from the side view, again, not a ton needs to happen there. And then we'll do another extrude. We'll pull it up to mid-range there and scale it in from the side view as well as from the front view. Oops. Use this tool. Extrude it again. We'll pull it up. And I don't need to meet the crown of the head. I'm just going to actually move the edges or the vertices at the very, very top when I get to that point. So I'm pretty happy with each of the extrusions that are there. And then I can right click and go into vertex mode. Select this one top vertex, use your move tool. And we're just going to pull that on up to round out the head. So it's pretty straightforward there. Now, the head itself, if you look at it from the top orthographic view, though it's round, it still seems like it's not too round, or it's a little obtuse on the back side, but not to worry. We'll come back and adjust those edges and vertices in a little bit. The idea here is that we keep this creature as low resolution as possible while we're creating the eyes and whatnot, and the ears and the nose, and then we'll come back and add in a whole nother edge that goes to the top of the head to create the ears, and then we'll start tucking in some of these outlier vertices that are kind of poking out from the side of the head, and once again we'll round it out a little bit more doing it that way. So in doing so, the next thing we're going to adjust is going to be his eyeball area. So if you would, click on shading and go to X-ray, and you'll see through your own image plane to kind of see where the eyes are located. Now with that, I feel like I need to do a slight adjustment to make his eyes a little bit wider, so that way they're not too narrowed into this area right here. My tools are not appearing to be working in that view, so I'm going to right click and go into edge mode, and I'm going to select the two edges that I need to adjust here in the perspective window. That's the front of his face there, and those are the two edges that we're looking at. The reason why I'm not selecting them down here is because there's two edges right there. One happens to be on the back side, one is on the front side. So I'm guaranteed to select it from the front side if I select it from the perspective view, but having the X-ray mode turned on, I can now use my scale tool and just drag these out to the side a little bit to make them a little bit wider. Alright, so the scale tool just isn't going to work in any of these views. That's fantastic. All right, here we go. So it's going to make it a little bit wider. So now the cavity for his eyeball area is going to be a little bit bigger. Next thing we're going to do is going to go back into face mode. I'm going to do one eyeball at a time. I am going to once again use the extrude method. You can kind of see this is the shape of the head. And if you were to press the number 3 key, this would give you, press the 3 key, this would give you an idea of what this creature, person, biped is looking like if we were to smooth them out at this current moment. And Kind of see what that looks like there. So I'm going to go back to number one mode. It's always best to work in number one low res mode. So nonetheless, with this one face selected, we'll click on the extrude tool. With the extrude tool, you always get the move, the rotate, and the scale tool with it. If you click and release on one of the scale tools that comes with it, you're going to get a center scale tool. Now this light blue one that you see in the center there, is going to allow us to scale this eye in all three directions at the same time. But of course, if the tools don't work, we'll just adjust it manually. So I'll use the side scale to scale it in a little bit that way, as well as the Y. So that was the X and the Y. So now you're starting to see the eye cavity, and now we're going to extrude it one more time. And once again, we're going to use the X scale to drag it in to make it a little bit smaller, the Y scale to make it not as tall, and then you're going to use the Z arrow, that's your move tool, to push it in, and this is going to create you the eye socket that we're looking for. So I'll repeat it on the other side. So we're going to select the opposing side face, so that's for his eyeball area, use the extrude tool. Once again, we're going to use the X scale to drag it in a little bit, use the Y scale to drag it down a little bit. This is going to create you the bone structure that separates your nose and your eye from the socket area. A secondary extrude. Once again, we'll use the red, which is your X scale, as well as the Y scale. And then we'll use the blue arrow to push it into the head a little bit. And that basically creates you the basic structure of what the eyes are going to look like. Once again, pressing the 3 key kind of gives you an idea what that looks like. The 1 key takes you back out of it. Hopefully that's helpful in getting you started with creating the head and the eyes for your character.